Hello, this is Mike Dell from Blubrry Podcasting, and today I'm going to show you what the Feeds tab in PowerPress Settings is for and what you should have it set to. So go to PowerPress and Settings and go down to the Feeds tab. And at this point, we don't have any podcasts published, so that's why this is got this warning here. If you've already got some published, then that won't be there. So we want you to have it on Enhance All Feeds. That's what we normally would have it at. There are some other reasons why you may want to select those other ones, but for the most part, that's what you want. Enhance All Feeds. And then down here, we want to check a few check boxes. Do not allow other plugins to modify podcast feeds. That prevents most plugins from messing with your podcast feed because a lot of plugin developers don't know anything about podcasting or PowerPress. So turn that on. It's safe. Turn on Accelerate Feed because faster is better. And it does sort of compress things and make it just a little bit faster. It's kind of cool. Feed Discovery. This allows you to be found in Google easier because Google Podcasts has a feature, or it's the way it works basically is it finds you in search. If you have this checked, it's going to have the right thing in the header for you to be discovered on Google Podcasts by their crawler. Enable Web Sub. Used to be able to turn that off. We've now have that on by default. What that means is that if you're in Google Podcasts, or once you're in Google Podcasts, it will update your Google Podcast listing almost immediately through a thing called Web Sub. In the future, that'll also make your Blubrry directory listing update quicker, and hopefully it gets adopted across all the different apps, and that may make the directories on those apps update quicker. But your episodes will go to your subscribers nearly immediately anyway, regardless of whether the directory is updated or not. And then RSS2 image, have that on, include RSS2 image in feeds. That just make sure that artwork that you're going to upload in another tab is going to show up everywhere it needs to. Emojis. Yes, you can put emojis in your feed, in your show notes, or in the title of podcasts. I suggest not doing that just because it may cause some issues, but you can, if you want, turn that on, and it really doesn't hurt anything. Feed title. The feed title is the title of your podcast that you want everybody to see. Even though the blog title will be used, if you don't put something in here, I suggest typing it in anyway. So this is going to be the underwater basket weaving. Weaving. Oh, come on. I can't spell today. Podcast. And this is what I want everybody to see. The Underwater Basket Weaving Podcast. Feed description. That is a description of your feed that needs to be there specifically in this context. It's there because if you don't put it there, it will your show will not show up in Spotify if you submit to Spotify. And some other apps use this feed description. Okay, feed landing page. Since you're using PowerPress, you don't need to put anything in the feed landing page. You just want them to land on your page. So that's good. Podcast mirror feed URL. Do not, and I repeat, do not put anything in this podcast or in this box unless you're using the podcast mirror service, which in most cases you don't need. But if you do need it, that's where that podcast mirror feed goes. Don't put anything else in there. It will seriously mess up your feed. Show most recent. Most WordPress sites default at 10 episodes or 10 items in the feed. But if you're going to do more than 10 episodes, type 300 in there. 300 is the limit. It's not the absolute limit. It's the limit that any directory will show, so there's no reason to put anything more than that in the feed. Feed episode maximizer. Check that. That just makes your feed a little bit smaller and a little bit faster. As I said, faster is better. And let's see, the copyright. You can, if you want, put a copyright in there. You do not have to. And in most countries, the fact that you are making content, it is copyrighted. So you can throw it in there. If you want the fancy little C symbol, on Apple, you hold the Option key and hit G, and then I'll make that fancy little symbol. I'm not sure on Windows, but what I've done is go copy it off the web somewhere and then just paste it in there so you get the little symbol if you want to. You don't have to. Caching debug comments. That's only if you have some trouble with support, and we will tell you to turn that on. And if you have super cache or W3 caching, might not be a bad idea to put it in there, but like I said, you don't need caching in most cases, and you don't need to check that in most cases. Location, you can put one in there if you want. I am indeed in Traverse City, Michigan, in the USA, so I'm going to put that in there. It's not required, and if it's not relevant to your podcast, don't worry about it. I do these webinars monthly. Monthy, geez, let's get it spelled right. And you don't have to put that in there either. If you don't have a schedule or you don't care to put that in there, it doesn't really show up in most places, but you can throw it in there if you want to. Totally optional. Donate link, totally optional, only works in a couple of apps. One of them, Skipcast on iOS. But if you did have a donate link, you could put that in there, like Patreon or PayPal or Buy Me a Coffee, something like that. And then the label, you could buy me a coffee, buy me a beer, donate to the show, whatever you want to have the button say on Skipcast. Totally not necessary in most cases, but there it is if you want it. TV settings. This is somewhat important if you want to be on set-top boxes such as Apple TV, Roku, Boxy, and any other sort of podcast app that plays on televisions. And believe it or not, people do watch your audio show on TVs. Not a lot, but you should put something in there. TVG is the lowest I would go unless your show is specifically for kids. And, just read the descriptions on, what level you want to set that in depending on the type of show that you have. And go down to the bottom and hit Save Changes, and that is the Feeds tab.